Welcome, everyone. Today, I am going to tell you the unbelievably powerful, real-life story of David Goggins, a man who took his deepest pain and turned it into power, his fear into fuel, and his weakness into pure mental strength. This story is not just about muscles or running. This story is about you. It is about your pain, your daily struggles, your secret fears, and your excuses. It is about how to destroy those excuses with discipline and a strong mind. David Goggins was born on February 17, 1975, in the cold city of Buffalo, New York. But his childhood was not normal. It was not peaceful. And it was certainly not happy. It was pure pain. He grew up in a house that was full of fear. His father, David Goggins, owned a roller rink business. From the outside looking in, people in the town thought they were a rich and happy family. But behind closed doors, young David and his mother lived inside a terrible nightmare. His father was a deeply abusive man. He beat David's mother, controlled her, and treated little David like a slave. While other children were sleeping safely in their beds, David had to work at the skating rink late into the night, sometimes cleaning floors, until 2 a.m. Then he had to wake up just a few hours later for school. He didn't sleep, he didn't play, and he never felt safe. As David later said, "I didn't have a childhood. I had a job and trauma." But the heaviest burden of all was the secret. He wasn't allowed to talk about his pain to anyone. Every single morning, he had to walk into his school, force a fake smile on his face, and act like everything was perfectly okay. Deep inside his heart, he was a terrified, lost, and angry little boy. Because of the constant heavy stress, his brain could not focus. He couldn't read well. He developed a learning disability. He suffered from asthma, and his voice shook with a heavy stutter every time he tried to speak. Children can be cruel. They laughed at him and called him stupid. Teachers looked at him and didn't believe in him. And the saddest part of all? Soon, the young boy stopped believing in himself entirely. Eventually, David and his mother escaped from his abusive father. They packed what little they had and moved to a quiet, small town in Indiana, hoping for a fresh, peaceful start. He thought the worst pain was over. He thought he could finally breathe. But life didn't get easier. In fact, it got even harder. The world can be a very cold place. In his new school, he was the only black kid. Every single day, the other kids bullied him without mercy. They called him terrible, hurtful names, including the N-word, and made him feel like he simply didn't belong in this world. When you are told every day that you are worthless, you start to hide from the light. Looking back at that painful time, he said, "Everywhere I went, I felt unwanted." He began to hide in his bedroom. He started faking sickness just so he could skip school and stay away from the cruelty. Slowly, the young boy became deeply afraid of everything. He was afraid of tests, afraid of people, and afraid of life itself. Because of this constant, heavy fear, he was failing school. To protect himself, he started lying to his teachers, cheating on his exams, and pretending to be someone he wasn't. He was wearing a heavy mask just to survive the day. But deep down in his soul, a quiet voice knew the painful truth. This is not who I want to be. Fast forward a few years, David was no longer a little boy, but his spirit was completely crushed. One day, David took his shirt off and looked at himself in the cold glass of the mirror. He was almost 300 pounds. He was overweight, deeply scared, and completely full of self-hate. His daily job was working as a pest control man, spending his days spraying poison for cockroaches. Every single morning, he woke up feeling miserable. And every single night, he went to sleep feeling entirely worthless. He hated the man looking back at him in the mirror. He hated his life. He thought he would quietly fade away in that dark, sad place. But one quiet night, a sudden spark of light was about to change everything. One quiet evening, sitting alone and feeling completely miserable, David watched a television documentary about the Navy SEALs, the absolute toughest soldiers in America. He watched these brave men jumping out of helicopters. He saw them training in freezing cold water, crawling through the wet sand, bleeding, screaming, and pushing their physical limits. Most people would look at that kind of suffering and see pure torture, but David watched those men suffer, and he felt a tiny fire finally light up in his dark soul. He looked at the screen and said to himself, "That's the kind of man I want to be. That's who I was born to be." But there was a massive wall standing in his way. The Navy SEALs had strict weight limits. To even be allowed to try out, David had to lose more than 100 pounds in just 3 short months. If you tell a normal person to lose 100 pounds in 90 days, most people would laugh and simply give up. But David Goggins didn't. He was finally tired of giving up. He looked in the mirror one last time and decided, "This is war. This is my new life." He completely stopped eating junk food. He forced his heavy, painful body to work out 3 times every single day. He was not just running to burn fat. He was running away from his old, sad life. He was burning his old identity to the ground. When David finally entered the U.S. Navy, he had achieved the impossible. He had lost the weight, and he had one single goal burning in his mind: to become a Navy SEAL, the toughest of the tough. But becoming a SEAL isn't like a normal job. It is not just about doing push-ups and swimming. It is about facing pure pain, brutal punishment, freezing cold water, mental torture, and hours of absolute suffering on purpose. This brutal program is called BODS training, and David was about to step right into the fire. David entered his first SEAL training class full of fire. He had successfully fought his way out of the deep darkness of abuse, racism, and obesity. But now, he was standing among the strongest men in the world, and every single man was being tested. Hell Week started like a terrifying nightmare. Imagine this: you only get 4 hours of sleep across 5 entire days. You are pushed into the freezing ocean again and again, and you are forced to run with heavy boats on your head. You carry massive logs, crawl in the wet sand, roll in the cold mud, and run until your feet are completely destroyed. You are freezing, bleeding, deeply tired, and broken, while instructors scream at you non-stop. It is not just a test for your physical body. It is designed to completely break your mind. And David's body did break. He got severely injured and was pulled out of the training. They told him to go home. Most people would quit forever. Most people would comfortably say, "At least I tried." But David Goggins looked at his failure and said, "I don't care how many times I fail. I'm not leaving until I become a SEAL. I'm not going anywhere." He healed his broken injuries and entered the brutal BODS training, again with a brand new class. But this time, the freezing water gave him double pneumonia. His lungs filled with dangerous fluid. The doctors looked at him and said, "You can't continue. You'll die." Once again, they pulled him out. He had now entered SEAL training twice and failed both times. He felt embarrassed, hurt, and deeply disappointed. But he still absolutely refused to quit. He believed one powerful truth that most people never realize: you are in control of your mind. Your mind is not your master. You are. So he returned for a third try. 3 different classes, 3 different chances. Most people would have given up long ago. But David had one absolute rule for himself: I will suffer, I will bleed, but I will never quit. During this third Hell Week, the pain was worse than ever before, and his body began failing him. He suffered painful stress fractures in his legs, severe shin splints, and deep bone damage. Every single step he took felt like his legs were breaking in half. Every breath felt like sharp knives in his chest, but he kept going. He wrapped his broken legs tightly with duct tape, and his body was in so much pain that he peed blood. He couldn't even walk straight, but he absolutely refused to ring the bell. In the center of the camp hangs a bell that every quitting SEAL must ring to go home. David looked at that bell and said, "I'd rather die here than live one more day as the old version of me." After 3 hell weeks of endless pain, broken bones, sickness, and mental torture, David Goggins finally graduated from BUD/S. He transformed from a scared, overweight, bullied boy into one of the most elite warriors on earth. After David Goggins graduated from BUD/S and became a Navy SEAL, most people would think his incredible story was complete. But here's the real twist: that was only the beginning. He didn't just stop after becoming a SEAL. He kept going to find out exactly how much pain the human body and mind can truly handle. He said, "I want to know what I'm truly made of. I want to know what's on the other side of suffering." That is when he entered a completely new battlefield. Not war, but the brutal world of ultramarathons, extreme races where you run 100 miles or 200 miles through deserts, mountains, and sleepless nights. After becoming a SEAL, Goggins tragically lost some of his close military friends in a helicopter crash during a Drobal mission in Afghanistan. It broke his heart, and he deeply wanted to raise money for the families of the fallen soldiers. To do this, he discovered a famous, terrifying race called the Badwater 135, a 135-mile run across Death Valley, one of the hottest places on Earth. But there was one big problem. To even qualify for this extreme race, he first had to complete a 100-mile race in under 24 hours, and he only had exactly 3 days to prepare. Yes, 3 days. David showed up to a small running event in San Diego. He wasn't a runner. He didn't even have the right running shoes. He had no special training, no experience, and absolutely no support team. But what he did have was far more powerful, a mind that completely refuses to quit. He started running. The first 10 miles were okay, but by mile 20, the deep pain started. By mile 30, his heavy legs started cramping. And by mile 50, his body was completely falling apart. Imagine the pure agony. His kidneys began to shut down. His feet were bleeding and completely covered in blisters. He couldn't even stand up straight. He had broken bones in his feet. And worst of all, he had pooped in his pants because his stomach couldn't take the pain anymore. He had every logical reason in the world to stop and go to a hospital. But he didn't. He sat down, taped up his bleeding feet, drank a small protein shake, stood up again, and he finished all 100 miles in under 24 hours. That race didn't just damage his body, it completely destroyed it. He couldn't walk properly for days. His toenails fell off, his muscles were torn, and doctors warned him about permanent damage. But what did Goggins say? He said, "I found something in that pain. I found a side of me I had never seen before." Sitting in that dark pain, he realized a profound secret. Pain unlocks a door, and on the other side of that pain is true power. Now that he had finally qualified, David Goggins signed up for the Badwater 135, which is called the world's toughest foot race. He ran 135 miles through boiling heat, 120 degrees Fahrenheit, in the Death Valley desert, running on hot black pavement. There was no shade, no comfort, just pure pain. But Goggins didn't just finish it. He became one of the top finishers, again and again. He went on to run many ultramarathons, including 100-mile, 200-mile, and 48-hour non-stop races, and he even set a world record for the most pull-ups in 24 hours with over 4,000. But he didn't do these extreme things to win shiny medals, and he didn't do it to impress people. He did it to prove a profound truth: the human mind is the most powerful weapon in the world if you can control it. People began to watch him in awe, asking, "How are you even real? How can a person go through so much pain and not break? What's your secret?" David didn't just give a short answer. Instead, he gave the world a book called Can't Hurt Me: Master Your Mind and Defy the Odds. This wasn't just a story. It was a blueprint for building an unbreakable mind. Inside this blueprint, you will find tools that can change your life too. One of his most powerful mental tricks is what he calls the cookie jar. He says that every single time he is in pain, feels tired, or desperately wants to quit, he reaches into his mental cookie jar full of past victories. He remembers every time he survived his abusive childhood, passed the brutal SEAL training, ran 100 miles with broken feet, and got through heavy racism and fear. He takes one of those dark memories and uses it as pure fuel. When most people say, "I can't go on," Goggins looks at his pain and says, "I've been through worse. I can do this too." David Goggins became a superhuman not because of his physical body, but because of his powerful mindset. His incredible story teaches you this. You don't need to be special. You don't need to be special conditions. And you don't even need motivation. What you truly need is discipline, strong self-talk, and the absolute refusal to quit. You need to be your own hero. You need to suffer on purpose to grow and do something hard every single day, not because it's fun, but because it teaches you exactly who you are. As he beautifully says, suffering is the path to self-respect, and when you do something that breaks your limits, you earn the right to feel proud of who you are. David didn't write "Can't Hurt Me" to make money or become famous. He wrote it to wake people up. He wanted to say, you have more. You can do more. You are not your past, and you are not your pain. This book wasn't just a story. It was a blueprint for building an unbreakable mind. Let's go deep into that blueprint, because inside it, you will find tools that can change your life too. His first powerful truth is this: stop lying to yourself. In the beginning of the book, David says that the most important conversation you will ever have is the one you have with yourself. Most people wake up and tell themselves, I'm tired, I'm not good enough, it's too hard, I'll start tomorrow. But David says, stop lying. If you're fat, say it. If you're lazy, admit it. If you are wasting your potential, look in the mirror and face it. Why? Because you cannot change what you won't face. This honesty is not to shame you, it is to free you. This deep honesty led to his famous accountability mirror. When David was young, he put sticky notes on his bathroom mirror. He wrote brutal notes like, you're fat, lose the weight, and you're dumb, study harder. It sounds harsh, but he says it saved his life. Each night, he would look into that mirror and ask, did I do my best today, or did I waste it? This small trick forces you to stop blaming others, stop making excuses, and face the only question that matters. What did you do today to change? His next lesson is to callous your mind. You know how your hands get tough calluses if you lift heavy weights every day? David says your mind works the exact same way. Every time you do something difficult, waking up early, running when you are tired, studying when it's boring, or saying no to junk food, you build mental calluses. He says, when life hits you hard, don't crumble. Use the pain to become stronger. And when you feel like you cannot take one more step, remember the 40% rule. Goggins says that when your mind says you are completely done, you are only at 40% of your true limit. If you think you can only run 1 mile, you can probably run 2. If you feel like quitting today, you still have 60% left in your tank. Most people naturally run from pain and chase comfort. But David teaches that suffering is the path to freedom. Suffering doesn't mean hating yourself. It means choosing discipline over comfort. It means choosing growth over pleasure, and choosing the hard road because the easy one leads nowhere. As he beautifully says, the most beautiful things in life live on the other side of suffering. Perhaps the most painful and beautiful truth David learned is this: no one is coming to save you. He grew up in heavy pain. He was abused, bullied, and ignored by the world. He had learning problems. People laughed at him, and nobody believed in his future. And one day, sitting in that dark place, he realized the cold, hard truth. If he wanted to change his miserable life, he had to be the one to do it. This truth can change your life too. Stop waiting. Stop hoping someone else will fix your problems. You must become your own hero. When you stop running from pain and stop caring about comfort, you become truly free. And when you become free, no one can hurt you. After his book became a global bestseller, changing lives across many countries, most people thought David Goggins had finally reached the peak. He had survived the worst childhood, become a Navy SEAL, run extreme 100-mile races, and inspired millions of people. Wasn't that enough? No. Because David Goggins does not believe in the word enough. He believes in one simple truth: you are never finished. Even after becoming famous, he didn't slow down. He kept running more ultramarathons and training harder. But in secret, something terrifying was happening inside his body. He started feeling a strange, deep pain in his chest. After he finally went to the doctors, they discovered a very serious problem. He had a hole in his heart. It was a dangerous condition he had lived with since birth, but it had gone completely unnoticed his entire life. The doctors were absolutely shocked. This condition could have killed him. They told him that he should have never been allowed to become a SEAL, run those extreme ultramarathons, or do any extreme physical activity. But David had already done all of it with a broken heart. He had been fighting death for years without even knowing it. When the doctors told him that he would need immediate heart surgery, did he cry? Did he panic? No, he laughed, because once again life had thrown terrible pain at him and he was completely ready. He had trained his mind for this exact moment. He looked at them and said, "I'm not afraid of pain. I know how to suffer. Let's go." He had the heart surgery. He slowly recovered, and then he went right back to his brutal training. He proved to the world that no matter what life throws at you, you are never finished. In his second book, Never Finished, David explains something very powerful. Most people stop growing because they look at their lives and think, "I've already done enough. I've already improved a lot. I'm better than most." But David teaches that if you truly want to be great, you must understand there is no finish line. He doesn't just tell his story. He gives you the exact tools to keep fighting. The first tool is what he calls the savage mindset. He says most people in our world live with civilized minds. They want comfort, they deeply avoid pain, and they constantly seek balance. But Goggins lives with a savage mindset, a true warrior's mind. He says, "I don't train to win races. I train to dominate my inner weakness. I train to silence the voices of fear." Having a savage mindset means you do not take days off just because you are tired. You choose to do hard things, even when no one is watching you. The second tool is a quiet, dark place he built inside his own head. He calls it the mental lab. This is a place inside your brain where you study yourself. When we fail, what do most of us do? We easily distract ourselves with TV, food, scrolling on our phones, and blaming other people. But David says you must enter your mental lab and ask yourself painful, honest questions. Why did I give up today? Why did I avoid that difficult conversation? Why am I still making the same excuses? The mental lab forces you to analyze your own mind like a scientist so you can finally fix what is broken. The third lesson is to stay dangerous. Goggins says, don't aim to be peaceful, aim to be dangerous and choose peace. Being dangerous does not mean being violent. It means being absolutely ready. You must be ready to face stress, failure, heavy pressure, discomfort, and pain. He asks one powerful question. When life attacks, will you be the hunted or the hunter? He reminds us again and again that this journey of changing your life is not easy, it's not fun, and it's not fair. But it is deeply worth it, because on the exact other side of the pain is pride. On the other side of fear is true freedom. David Goggins is no longer just a man. He has become a global movement. He is living proof that the human mind is truly limitless. Your past doesn't define you. Excuses are just a choice, and pain is not your enemy. It is the door to your greatness. You are listening to this story not just to learn about David Goggins. You are listening because deep inside, you desperately want to change your own life. If you have made it to the very end of his story, then you have already proven one important thing. You are truly hungry for change. You want more from this short life, you want to grow, and you want to become someone your younger self would be incredibly proud of. So here is exactly what he would tell you right now. Get up earlier than you want to. Do something hard every single day. Run directly toward your fear and embrace the discomfort. Be brutally honest with the person looking back at you in the mirror and use your pain as your ultimate fuel. And when your tired mind begs you to stop, talk back to it and say, "I'm just getting started." My friend, learning English is your daily battle. It can feel heavy, difficult, and sometimes frustrating. Some days your mind will tell you to quit. But remember, the path is hard and you must stay disciplined. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to be honest. Every time you listen to a story like this, every time you practice a difficult word, you are building your mental calluses. You are doing something hard. Now you finally know the truth. You don't need to be born strong. You don't need to be born lucky. And you don't need to be perfect. You just need to take one deep breath and decide, I will not live like this anymore. David Goggins didn't come from a life of privilege. He came from heavy pain, from deep fear, and from absolute nothing. He took all of that darkness and turned it into unstoppable power, and so can you. No matter where you are today, no matter how broken you feel, and no matter how far behind you think you are, you can change. You can grow. Remember this, you are not finished. You are just getting started. And yes, you can do it. Now go out and become the absolutely strongest version of yourself, because the world hasn't seen your full power yet. If this story gave you strength today, and if you enjoy practicing your English with us, please like this video and subscribe to our channel for more powerful English stories. Write a comment below and tell me honestly, what is one hard thing you are going to do tomorrow to build your own strong mind? You can also listen to this entire story again tomorrow. Use it to practice your speaking, shadow the emotional vocabulary, and train your brain to never give up. Until next time, stay disciplined, face your fears, and always remember, you are never finished. Good night.